The darknet, a place where anonymity reigns and the rules of the surface world don't apply. It's a hidden, shadowy part of the internet where the laws of society are barely a whisper. But what happens when someone dares to peek behind the curtain? What if, deep within this underworld, there's a side of the internet that's so disturbing, so dangerous, it's almost unimaginable? Well, we've seen it. And trust me, you won't believe what we found. From illicit markets to dangerous networks, what we discovered is more terrifying than you could ever imagine. It's the stuff that keeps people awake at night, the stuff that's buried deep below the surface of the digital world, beyond the reach of the law. But today, we're pulling back the curtain. Stay with us as we reveal what's really going on in the dark corners of the internet. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at the web the same way again. In the next hour, we'll take you on a deep dive into the hidden, sinister world of the darknet. We'll explore the illicit markets that trade in everything from stolen data to drugs, and the dangerous networks that fuel a dark side of the internet most people can't even fathom. Stay tuned, because what you'll learn today will reveal the true scope of what's lurking beneath the surface of the web. We'll take you through real stories, uncover the methods criminals use to hide their tracks, and reveal shocking truths about how the darknet operates. And most importantly, you'll learn how these hidden networks affect our world, our society, our privacy, and even our safety. But before we go any further, let's take a step back and define what we're talking about. The darknet is a part of the internet that's not indexed by regular search engines like Google. It's a hidden underworld where illegal activities thrive, and where anonymity allows criminals to operate with minimal risk of getting caught. Think of it like the Wild West of cyberspace, a place where the law doesn't quite reach. You may have heard of it in passing, but few people truly understand what happens there. The darknet is home to some of the most dangerous, deceptive, and illegal activities you can imagine, and its reach is deeper than you may realize. So, how did we find our way into this forbidden zone? And what exactly did we uncover? Well, we went behind the curtain, followed the trail, and found things that might leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the internet. Trust me, you won't look at your browser history the same way after this. The dark net isn't just another part of the internet. It's a hidden network that operates with a sense of secrecy and anonymity. It's a place where digital shadows thrive away from the eyes of the law. But here's the thing, it's not to be confused with the deep web. The deep web includes all the content that isn't indexed by search engines. Think of your private emails, personal documents, or even your online banking details. It's stuff that's hidden but legal. The darknet, however, is where things take a turn into the illegal. Unlike the surface web we use every day, where we Google things, watch videos, and make purchases, the darknet exists in a secretive layer of the internet, where it's incredibly difficult to track users and activities. To access this underground world, you need special software like Tor or I2P, which shield users' identities and mask their location. Think about it. This is the digital equivalent of a black market where anonymity is key. Whether you're trying to buy something illicit or avoid being tracked by governments, the darknet offers the kind of privacy that makes it a perfect playground for criminals, but also a safe haven for people who need privacy in a world that's increasingly monitored. Now, let's talk about the people behind the screens. Who exactly uses the darknet? Well, it's not just hackers and criminals looking to break the law. A lot of whistleblowers, activists, and even journalists rely on the dark net to communicate freely and safely without worrying about government surveillance. For example, the dark web has been used by whistleblowers to leak confidential documents that expose corruption and government malfeasance without risking their lives. Activists in countries with oppressive regimes turn to the darknet to organize and spread their messages without fear of retaliation. On the other hand, criminals, drug dealers, and cybercriminals are also using these tools to carry out their illegal activities. And with all the hidden markets, services, and illegal networks running rampant, they thrive in this untraceable space. But here's the unsettling truth. Not everyone who uses the darknet has good intentions. In fact, The darker side of the darknet is filled with some of the most disturbing and illegal activities imaginable. And the real question is, how many of these networks are out there, and just how dangerous are they? As we ventured deeper into the darknet, we encountered something that seemed almost too terrifying to believe. Dark marketplaces that dealt in illegal goods with a chilling level of efficiency. These marketplaces weren't just your average illegal trading hubs. They operated like businesses, complete with systems for transactions, ratings, and even customer service. From drugs to weapons and stolen data, these underground stores were powered by cryptocurrency, allowing them to operate anonymously and evade any legal scrutiny. What really struck us, however, was how easy it was to access these items. Within minutes, you could browse products that seemed unimaginable on the surface web, things that were either illegal or so deeply hidden that they couldn't be found anywhere else. From banned substances to weaponry, the variety was staggering. But what truly shocked us wasn't just the sheer variety of goods, it was the seamless process behind it all. It wasn't difficult at all. The transactions were simple, the prices shockingly low, and the danger hidden beneath layers of anonymity. For a brief moment, we felt like we were walking through a digital version of an underworld, where anything could be bought or sold with no questions asked. But the more we explored, the more disturbing things became. Some of the markets we found weren't just fly-by-night operations. They were highly organized networks with multiple vendors selling a range of illegal products, everything from counterfeit money to weaponry. What was most disturbing was the fact that these vendors had reviews, ratings, and even customer service, just like any legitimate e-commerce site you'd find on the surface web. These weren't small-time players. This was big business, involving millions of dollars changing hands every single day, with the products shipped out globally. We saw everything: stolen identities, forged documents, and even access to private government or corporate databases, all being bought and sold in darknet markets that spanned the globe. What's worse, the transactions weren't just limited to physical goods. We came across digital theft and exploitation in shocking quantities. Hacked databases containing sensitive data, intellectual property theft, and even malware that could wipe out entire systems were up for grabs. The darknet isn't just about buying and selling illegal substances. It's about exploiting vulnerabilities and profiting off the exploitation of both people and systems. It's about the underworld of the internet, exploiting every single loophole, every gap in security. But as alarming as these markets were, what we found next was even worse. Something far darker, more sinister, lurking just beneath the surface, far beyond the world of stolen goods and illegal transactions. What we uncovered next made everything else pale in comparison. It's easy to think of the darknet as just a place where illegal goods are bought and sold, but the reality is far darker. The darknet has become a breeding ground for some of the world's most dangerous cybercriminals, and it's home to some of the most sophisticated digital threats imaginable. From ransomware attacks to cyber espionage, it's a digital war zone, and the stakes are higher than ever. These hackers, armed with complex tools and knowledge, don't just steal personal data, they bring down corporations, cripple infrastructure, and hold entire cities hostage with ransomware. The darknet offers them a shield, anonymity that keeps them hidden from authorities and virtually untouchable. These cybercriminals are often part of global criminal organizations or even backed by nation-states, using the darknet to hide their digital footprints and carry out devastating operations without fear of retaliation. Let's dive into one of the most notorious hacker groups operating on the darknet. Known only by their digital signature, they've wreaked havoc on global financial systems and government infrastructures. In one shocking case, this group launched a cyber attack that crippled a major U.S. city, stealing personal information from millions of residents and holding critical infrastructure hostage. They demanded millions in cryptocurrency or the data would be leaked to the public. The attack caused billions in damage, not just financially, but to the public's trust in government systems. How did they get away with it? Well, by hiding behind the cloak of anonymity offered by the darknet, they were virtually untouchable, and they knew it. What's even more chilling, these hackers weren't acting alone. Many of them were operating in complete secrecy, using chat rooms, encrypted forums, and private marketplaces on the dark net to communicate with others who shared the same nefarious goals. For years, they were able to launch attack after attack, leaving a trail of destruction and fear. As we uncovered their digital footprints, we realized the true power they held. Hiding behind layers of encryption, their operations were so covert that authorities couldn't track them down. They were simply untouchable. The darknet is home to some of the most disturbing and illegal services imaginable. Human trafficking, the sex trade, and even hitmen for hire all operate in the shadows of this hidden world. It's a place where exploitation and suffering are commodified, all behind the veil of anonymity. What's worse is how easily accessible these services are. They're not hidden deep within inaccessible parts of the dark web, they're front and center, marketed in ways that would make your stomach churn. And the people behind them don't care who gets hurt, as long as the money keeps flowing. We stumbled across a chilling forum, one that, at first glance, seemed just like any other darknet discussion board. But as we dug deeper, the threads turned into offers for services that should never be allowed to exist in a civilized world. One post offered a hitman for hire, another offered access to human trafficking rings, and there was even a thread dedicated to the sale of organs. These weren't undocumented rumors. They were cold, calculated posts from people looking to profit off the suffering of others. The thing about these networks, they aren't theoretical. The exploitation doesn't stop with online conversations. It leads to real victims. People's lives are destroyed. Women, children, and even men are trapped in human trafficking rings that sell them into unimaginable horrors. The individuals who hire these criminals are often the ones pulling the strings, but the victims? They're often the ones whose lives are shattered forever. The dark net facilitates real-world harm, and the ripple effects from these criminal networks are often felt for years. These aren't just transactions. They're lives being traded for profit, with devastating consequences. But the darkness doesn't end there. The darknet isn't just a haven for criminal activities. It also hosts some of the world's most dangerous extremist ideologies and violent groups. In fact, it's a breeding ground for these movements, providing a space where radical ideas can spread without fear of detection. From terrorist networks recruiting new members to hate groups organizing attacks, the darknet is the one place where these extremists can communicate without the interference of law enforcement. These dangerous factions don't just share ideas. They plan, coordinate, and execute violent acts that affect the lives of countless innocent people. The freedom they have on the darknet to operate without detection is what makes them so dangerous. While authorities work tirelessly to combat extremism on the surface web, the darknet provides a place for these networks to flourish unchecked. And here's the most terrifying part. These extremists are not just communicating in small circles. They're using the dark net to make real connections, organize attacks, and even fund terrorist operations. They're using the internet's darkest corners to advance their causes, knowing they won't be easily caught. While the dark net may seem like a place where criminals can operate with impunity, it's not without its enemies. Authorities across the globe, including agencies like the FBI, Interpol, and national security teams, have been working tirelessly to crack down on these underground networks. But there's a major challenge they face: anonymity. The very thing that makes the darknet so attractive to criminals, its ability to shield users, also makes it nearly impossible to infiltrate. Tor and I2P provide users with a mask of anonymity, hiding their true identities and locations. This has made it a hotbed for illicit activities, from drug trafficking to terrorism. Despite the challenges, law enforcement is far from sitting idle. Over the years, significant strides have been made to uncover darknet marketplaces, identify the perpetrators, and shut them down. But as we will see, the struggle is far from over. One of the most high-profile busts occurred in 2017, when authorities took down Alphabay, which was one of the largest and most notorious darknet marketplaces. At its peak, Alphabay facilitated billions of dollars in transactions across multiple illegal markets. This takedown was a major blow to the darknet economy, and it was seen as a massive victory for law enforcement. But even with such a victory, the darknet is resilient. It didn't take long before other markets sprang up to replace Alphabet, operating in similar ways, often with improved security and smarter operational tactics to evade detection. The cat-and-mouse game between law enforcement and darknet criminals is far from over. Even as one market is shut down, others rise to take its place, often more sophisticated and harder to crack. It's a never-ending battle, and the question remains: can law enforcement ever truly get ahead of this digital underground? Despite high-profile busts and millions of dollars in seized assets, the darknet continues to evolve. Criminals adapt, new encryption techniques are created, and the people who profit from this illegal world grow bolder. Is there any way to win this fight? The darknet is a shadowy world, full of mystery, danger, and menace. But it's also a stark reminder of just how vulnerable we are in this increasingly interconnected world. Despite law enforcement's best efforts to track down criminals and shut down markets, we can't ignore the fact that for every marketplace that's taken down, new networks pop up in its place. As one door closes, another opens, and the cycle continues. What does the future hold for the darknet? Will we see more takedowns, or will we descend even further into darker waters where criminals run rampant and law enforcement struggles to keep pace? As the technology behind the darknet evolves, so too do the ways criminals use it to elude capture. What we've seen today is just the tip of the iceberg. As long as there is a demand for illegal activities, there will be people willing to exploit these hidden corners of the internet. We may never fully be able to shut it down, but we must stay vigilant to prevent the worst from happening. If this video has opened your eyes to the dangerous world that exists on the darknet, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories from the hidden corners of the internet. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode that uncovers the mysteries of the dark web. Stay aware, stay informed, and always be cautious in the digital world. We can't afford to ignore what's lurking out there.